Boy guys, each time I think I'm ready to publish this video, something new comes out. Just as predicted, it's coming out so quickly now. I have lots of Q&As waiting in the wings, and I also have one about what I call the nature of the beast and how it's supported in the entropic nature of energy. But we need to keep up with current events to know where we are in our process of the big shift. There is so much on the media, and we want to be sure that we look at it not as an isolated event, but how it fits into the plan. So let's start with the biggest news. It all started late Friday, July 18th, when Tulsi Gabbard declassified over 100 pages of documents, including emails and memos, which she claimed revealed a treasonous conspiracy by the Obama administration to fabricate a narrative of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election to undermine Trump's victory. Then Barron Trump, the president's youngest son, tweeted that the Department of Justice is making preparations to indict and arrest former President Barack Obama on charges of treason, espionage, and seditious conspiracy. This is one of the ones that we've been waiting for, guys. I want you to notice how all of these things we are going to talk about are strategically timed to happen at once and build on each other. This is the art of war, so keep the interconnections in mind. Barron further stated that the Secret Service is already making preparations with federal law enforcement to work out the logistics of his historic arrest. Obama is about to become the first ever U.S. president to be charged with treason and could become the first American convicted of the high charge of treason since the end of World War II. This will not be some bogus prosecution about consensual hookers. This is going to blow this whole thing out of the water. Before we continue with the other parts of this rollout, let's first understand what we're talking about. Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution defines treason as levying war against the United States or adhering to its enemies, giving them aid and comfort. The penalty can include death, though convictions are extremely rare. No one has been executed for treason at the federal level since the 19th century, so regardless of what we might have heard, let's be open to all possibilities. Also, under the Espionage Act of 1917, espionage, particularly when someone intends to harm the U.S. by giving defense information to a foreign government, can carry the death penalty. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed in 1953 for espionage, the most notable modern case. I'm not so sure of the foundation of this charge, but that's two potential convictions that warrant execution. And lastly, seditious conspiracy is directed to conspiracies to overthrow or oppose the government by force. The maximum penalty is typically 20 years, but here's where the whole thing gets interesting. If you remember, Donald Trump made a huge deal about Barack Obama's birth certificate, saying that he wasn't born in the United States. I don't remember all the specifics right now, but the point is that these crimes are generally prosecuted domestically in the U.S. justice system. However, if these crimes are done by a foreign national or even involve foreign nationals, they would be tried by military tribunals. Does that sound familiar to any of you? So this one is going to be an interesting takedown in every way. But as always, the plot thickens. As I was preparing this video, I learned that Pam Bondi posted a statement made by Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, the number 2 person under Bondi. The statement confirms that regarding the Epstein case, no evidence was uncovered that could predicate an investigation against uncharged parties. Listen to the words, guys. This leaves several options. Either various third parties are already under investigation, or 2, evidence in the Epstein case was destroyed and cannot be used to open an investigation. But the announcement didn't stop there. Blanche basically said that Ghislaine Maxwell was never given the opportunity to meet with and cooperate with the Department of Justice, and that under Pam Bondi's direction, Maxwell's attorney has been contacted to determine whether she would be willing to cooperate, which basically means roll over. He anticipates meeting with Maxwell soon. So listen to what we have here, guys. Maxwell, with the best lawyers money can buy, was prosecuted during the Biden administration, and nobody ever gave her an opportunity to testify against others. Since then, we've learned that the House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to testify about the Epstein case. Are you hearing this, guys? She's going to testify about a case on a guy that's dead. It looks like the pervs will be exposed and that people will be prosecuted for destroying evidence. But it didn't stop raining there for the puppets of the deep state. The next thing that came out was a press conference of President Trump and the Philippine leader. This was a very well-planned speech where POTUS was very clear that he was distancing himself from any of the investigations and that he didn't really know what was going on with them, but he trusted his people. He did, however, give his personal opinion based on the documents declassified by Gabbard, is that Obama started it and Biden was there with him. He also made it clear that Comey and Clapper and Brennan were all there in the exact room they were sitting in. Trump said they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama, not lots of people all over the place. He even went so far as to say the leader of the gang was President Obama. He also dropped the terms treason and sedition. He said they tried to steal the election. So this is the big case that's going to bring them all down. He then said that Tulsi said that she has thousands of additional documents coming. But it kept coming today, guys. To top everything off, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, just canceled Congress for a month starting immediately, calling it an early vacation. What it is, my friends, is the way to stop all these Democrats from impeding the investigations that were just announced. Maxine Walters was one of the first to scream that they are going to have to go through her to get to Obama. I just love this. They are begging to be arrested. I suspect the genie is going to say, "Your wish is my command, Maxine." I'd shut up. And that goes double for Hunter Biden, who did an interview spewing F-bombs at people that he says turned on his father, including Jake Tapper, coincidentally. Then he went on to explain all of his qualifications to serve on the Chinese power company, just like that guilty person that tries to convince you that he didn't do it before he's even accused. And lastly, on the very day that all of this about Obama's investigation for treason comes out, it is announced that the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, died. You just can't make this up. I don't know, guys. Do you believe in coincidences? Can you imagine catching these guys? If I were any of them, I would have gone into hiding a long time ago. Or perhaps they are gone and we are looking at doubles. I don't know, have you guys really ever seen a movie with more twists and turns? I understand that this sounds cold to many, but it truly isn't. For those that see this all playing out as a movie and they've seen the script, those people did their grieving 8 years ago. However, we didn't do our grieving for these wayward politicians. We did our grieving for the children and other victims of inconceivable makings. We have prayed for justice. We have cried at night, and for some of us, we lost years of our lives grieving in a very dark place. But we see the signs that everything we were told is playing out. However, like my friend Patricia pointed out, it's drip, drip, drip. And that is because it had to be this way. We knew it. If you chose to listen to the disinformation in the media, that's okay. But realize that you are getting on the train a little late. And if some of us see this as a movie, we're not lessening the abhorrence of what happened. We never said that it wasn't a horror movie, but we also know that the monster is destroyed in the end. Hopefully, each and every one watching this video will come to a level of understanding that nothing can stop what is coming and that God wins in the end. We've been told that the year 2030 has been observed through a technology called looking glass. This is why it's important for us to not get too involved, disrupted, or distressed by the drama that is playing out. There will be sadness and there will be more, but the sooner we remove and neutralize the corrupt, the fewer victims there will be in this war. Don't be afraid to speak your truth, regardless of what people think of you. Don't be combative or dismissive, but don't be afraid to set an example. Be a resource to help those very people who ridiculed you through this. How do you tell your 93-year-old mother or grandmother about the Vatican? That could be the toughest one yet, but maybe some people don't need to know everything. I just don't know. So the language that we are hearing tweeted by Baron Trump is actually consistent with what we heard years ago, and we have so many indicators that the plan is playing out to accomplish the things we were told would happen. And there's lots more to come. So while we're doing a news video, let's look at a few other names that have popped up in the last couple of days. The administration is also promising other high-profile indictments. On July 8th, reports surfaced that the Justice Department, under President Trump's direction, launched criminal investigations into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey for alleged wrongdoing in the Trump-Russia probe, specifically citing potential false statements to Congress. These investigations were announced shortly after President Trump's comments about unleashing allies like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who promised accountability for past political targeting. Of course, the left view them as retaliatory actions against political adversaries. And now they are accusing the Justice Department of weaponization, which is exactly what these leaders are about to prove they did. Not that anybody cares, but Stephen Colber is the next liberal celebrity to go down. CBS announced the cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colber, set to end in May 2026, citing financial challenges in the late-night TV landscape. Of course, the $40 million a year that they were losing on the show could have influenced their decisions, but it's being blamed on no other than President Trump, who just settled with them for $16 million over the deceptive editing of a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris trying to make her look smart. The settlement, announced on July 1st, allocated the $16 million to Trump's future presidential library and legal fees. Remember the airplane from Qatar that was going to the library also? It turns out that presidential libraries under the Presidential Libraries Act of 1955 and the Presidential Records Act, PRA, of 1978 enjoy specific protections from seizure due to their status as federal property and their role in preserving public records. For instance, property owned by the Presidential Library are considered public property owned by the United States government, not the president. Remember when the media accused POTUS of putting the Qatar plane in it as if he was stealing it or using it for his own benefit? More media lies. When a POTUS leaves office, this property automatically transfers to the legal custody of the Archivist of the United States, managed by NARA. This protects the property from private seizure or destruction, as they are federal assets. This is a pretty big deal. Once these items are donated to a presidential library via a deed of gift, they become federal property under NARA's control, so the talking heads know this and just blatantly lied to undermine President Trump's credibility. The property is no longer considered personal property of the president. He is actually giving $16 million of a personal court-awarded money to us, the people of the U.S. This is different from the airplane because it was his own personal money. The Nixon presidential historical materials, however, were seized by federal law due to concerns about potential destruction post-Watergate. Congress can intervene if there's a demonstrated public interest, but it also highlights that such seizures are rare and require specific legislative action. This demonstrates how important it is that Congress is working in the best interest of the people of the United States. They can actually seize money that POTUS donated to us, just like the culprits have become millionaires with NGOs funneling taxpayer money to them. In yet another incident, President Trump announced that he intended to sue the Wall Street Journal over a false and suggestive birthday letter they published allegedly from POTUS to Epstein. Trump said he warned Rupert Murdoch not to publish the story and then followed through with a $10 billion defamation suit filed in Miami. And I would be remiss if I didn't give honorable mention to Adam Schiff for his current prosecution for mortgage fraud, right next to Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, for her mortgage fraud. Okay, guys, that's all I can fit in for today. This is rapid fire from all angles so far, and it's just the beginning of the takedown. I'm amazed at all this and sit here smiling and shaking my head at how smart these guys are. Until next time, let's think about this quote from Joe Biden. The American people deserve to know that if someone commits a crime, they will be prosecuted. Period. And so it is.